Kore Mapinduka and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. I'm your host, Glen-nora Tjipura. Getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast. UN Humanitarian Affairs Chief wants G7 action on conflict-fueled hunger. Ageist claims about Netumbo Tjipura ridiculous, according to her campaign manager. And UNESCO says world is not doing enough to protect the oceans. We'll also be talking to Mike Sichula, who'll be filling us in on the latest news in Zambia. We'll be right back with your top stories.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Salt Pan in the Oshikoto region from 27 June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
Netumbo Tjipura's campaign team says talks that she is too old to lead the country are misplaced, adding that she should rather be judged on her capabilities than her age. If she manages to garner the most votes at this year's presidential polls, Tjipura will be 72 by the time she is elected into office. Her campaign manager, Dr. Mbwende, described the claims about her age as the most ridiculous assertion ever put forth. He said she is very healthy and exercises every day. She is even fitter than many of the young people. What should be considered is her capabilities and moral value. I think a lot of criticism is being misplaced. Mbwende, a former ambassador, further said that they are afraid of what she stands for. She is an anti-corruption crusader, and those against her are motivated by self-interest. Getting into our next story, swinging over to South Africa. South Africa's parliament is due to elect a president today, and major political parties are still ironing out the final details of a coalition deal that may or may not allow Cyril Ramaphosa to return for a second term as president of the most industrialized economy in Africa. Mr. Ramaphosa's party, the African National Congress, said it would hold a meeting of its top officials in Cape Town yesterday evening, just 12 hours before Parliament meets in the city and begins the process. South Africa has been in a political impasse since the ANC lost its 30-year majority in an election 2 weeks ago, forcing it to reach out to other parties to find some form of agreement in order to co-govern for the first time. The ANC's priority is to re-elect Mr. Ramaphosa, but it will need help from other lawmakers as it no longer has a parliamentary majority. No final agreement between the parties has been announced, and the ANC's internal leadership must also formally approve any coalition. We'll obviously keep the viewers updated with the state of affairs in South Africa. Moving on, a new report by the United Nations has found that the biodiversity and the carefully balanced ecosystems of oceans is being increasingly harmed by the impact of humans. The United Nations Education, Science and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, says the world has been treating the oceans like a free-for-all and that this needs to stop. It says climate change is disrupting life in our oceans, which are facing multiple hazards and being harmed by pollution, acidification, and a loss of biodiversity. With submissions from 100 scientists from around the world, the report aims to sound the alarm on what UNESCO says is new data on threats to the oceans. According to Vida Helgesen, the executive secretary of UNESCO's Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, there is loss of oxygen, there is acidification, there is sea level rise of course, causing effects on coastal communities and coastal systems. He adds that there is a deterioration of blue carbon vegetation in the ocean. There is steady and strong growth of pollutants that relates to plastic, but also other chemical pollutions. He was speaking in Paris ahead of a conference on Wednesday to discuss its State of the World's Oceans report and the screening of a documentary about the impact of climate change. The United Nations Chief of Humanitarian Affairs wants G7 leaders meeting in Italy to use their influence to prevent a man-made famine. Martin Griffiths warned in a statement that conflict was fueling hunger in too many corners of the world. He singled out Gaza and Sudan, where warring parties have been accused of blocking the delivery of life-saving aid. He said nowhere is the choice between inaction and oblivion so clear as in Gaza and Sudan. In Gaza, UNICEF is warning that nearly 3,000 children in the south of the Israeli blockaded strip have been cut off from treatment for moderate and severe acute malnutrition, putting them at risk of death. And the humanitarian coordinator in the South Sudan has released $20 million from the South Sudan Humanitarian Fund to prevent the hunger situation in South Sudan from worsening. In the last of our top stories, the Ovaherero of Kaukoland in Namibia and Angola, including sub-tribes like the Ovahimba, Ovashimba, Ovandamba Muranda, and the Ovambanderu, are determined to preserve and protect their rich culture. Over the last 2 years, they have collaborated to create the first ever biocultural community protocol. Alphonse Karuhama elaborates on the important document, which was introduced in Windhoek yesterday before Chief Kashambeya Madireve Shambiru makes an impassionate plea to allow their children to wear traditional attire at school, and Chief Mwashapike Kapika describes the disrespect from mines and government projects that he says disregard his authority and displace his people in the name of development. This video was contributed by our in-house journalist, Augeta Greg. Let's take a look.
BCP stands as a testament to the relationship between nature, culture, tradition, and practice. It also captures how their sense of how the community for generations have been maintaining the relationship between them and their environment. It articulates their shared knowledge, their beliefs, and their practice.
This is our culture. This is what you see is our culture. Now, as you can see how beautiful our culture is, we feel threatened by school.
Turkey has backed the candidature of Zambia's police officer Nawa Mubita for the position of Secretary General of Interpol. Mike Sichula will be filling us in on this story and more from Zambia.
Introducing 061 Express, brought to you by Synergy in proud partnership with Windhoek Express. Here's your chance to make your voice heard to celebrate the businesses that make Windhoek exceptional. From your favorite coffee spot to the salon that always gets your style just right. It's time to shine a spotlight on the gems of our city. Over the next 8 weeks, it's your chance to vote for your favorites to recognize the best of the best. Nominations open on the 21st of April and close on the 5th of May. To nominate your favorite business, simply save this number: 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp #061 Express or scan the QR code below and follow the on-screen instructions. By nominating your favorites, you're not only supporting local businesses, but you also stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. The voting process will be the same as the nominations process, using the Synergy chatbot and the #061Express. Voting opens on June 5th and closes on June 23rd. Make sure to cast your votes for the best of the best. The winners will be announced on June 28th. 061 Express, celebrating the heartbeat of Windhoek. Get ready to make your mark.
Now, as I highlighted before the break, it's time for us to talk to Mike Sichula. Good morning, Mike.
I'm very well, thank you. Good morning, Glen-nora.
I'm doing very well as well. Now, getting into your first story, Turkey has backed the candidature of Zambia's police officer Nawa Mubita for the position of Secretary General for Interpol. This is a very interesting development.
Yes, indeed. So Mr. Nawa, who is the Director for Administration in the Zambia Police Service, is among 4 candidates vying for the position of Interpol or Secretary General. Mr. Nawa had a productive engagement with the key Turkish officials in Ankara, and during the same meeting, the Turkish officials in Ankara did commit their support to his support that he should be elected as the Interpol Secretary General. And also Mr. Nawa outlined this vision for Interpol, emphasizing the need for a well-defined and coherent regional policies to effectively address global security challenges. So the interview for the Secretary General position is scheduled for the 25th of this month in Lyon, France. Then the elections are supposed to be held in November this year. So Mr. Nawa is hoping that is going to be elected as Secretary General. He's already been endorsed by SADC. He's also been endorsed by the African Union. So it is one of those positions that he's hoping that he can scope the position. However, there are some Zambians of Indian origins who have filed a dispute in a court in London, where they are saying that Mr. Nawa is behind their abduction when they came into Zambia. But this matter has not been responded to by Mr. Nawa. So we are yet to see whether that is going to have a dent on his candidature.
Well, do keep us posted on that. Now, in your next story, on a rather sad note, President Hakainde Hichilema and others have mourned the death of Malawi's Vice President Saulus Klaus Chilima.
Yeah, so President Hichilema went on his social Facebook page and he wrote, and I quote, "On behalf of government and the people of Zambia, we convey our deepest condolences to President Lazarus Chakwera and the people of Malawi following the death of Vice President Saulus Chilima and other senior officials in the tragic plane crash," and end of quote. Then former President Edgar Lungu also posted, and I quote, "The late Vice President was a true son of African soul who believed in hard work and delivering his very best to the country and continent he loved so dearly, aged only 51. On behalf of my family, the Patriotic Front Party, and the people of Zambia, wherever they are, we join you, my brother, President Lazarus Chakwera, Mrs. Mary Chilima, the families of the 9 other distinguished Malawians that have perished in the unfortunate accident," end of quote. So Mr. President Hichilema also deployed 2 helicopters, one of those that you can see in the screen there, and the helicopters were handy as they were used by the Malawian authorities to ferry the bodies of the deceased from the crash to where they have been prepared for burial. So it is something that Zambians have also applauded the Zambian government for the brotherly love that it has shown to Malawi in the time of this tragic loss of their vice president.
May the vice president rest in peace. Now, moving on into your next story, the European Union and the German government have committed 118.1 million euros for a water project in Zambia.
Yeah, so the water project is called the Nexus Energy Water for Zambia project. The project seeks to tackle critical challenges related to water supply, sanitation, and hygiene in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. So during the signing ceremony, Minister of Water Development and Sanitation Permanent Secretary Joe Kalusa on the left said the support to enhance the policy and regulatory environment is timely and will help to establish an enabling environment for the sector to thrive. And the German embassy in Zambia, Deputy Head of Development Annie Rosox, said the project, which will be implemented in 36 months, will support maintenance of the existing infrastructure. So this is something that the government has been engaging key partners in order to improve water supply in the country. There are other projects that the World Bank is implementing in the western part of Zambia. So this one that has been supported by the European Union and the German cooperation is one of those that is aimed at ensuring that there's water supply across the country without any difficulties.
All right, now getting into the last of your stories. Visiting FIFA President Gianni Infantino has held talks with some key football stakeholders, including the President, Hakainde Hichilema.
Yeah, so yesterday, Mr. Infantino paid a courtesy call at State House on President Hakainde Hichilema, who during the meeting urged the World FIFA Governing Body to continuously foster dialogue in resolving wrangles among its member associations. The president said he has taken note as to why sometimes whenever government seeks to interfere in the operations of individual associations, FIFA always comes up to say that this interference. So he has since said that that should not be the case, because government is also a key stakeholder in the running of football in their individual countries. Then also Mr. Infantino commended Zambia for its football development and the rich history of the sport. And also, it was also during this visit that FIFA president announced that they are going to pump in 10 million United States dollars into Zambia for the construction of the technical center. And the technical center will be constructed under a memorandum of understanding with FIFA and FAS to ensure that they will create football pitches as well as an administrative office and other facilities that are going to support football in the country. So this center is going to be constructed in Chongo district, which is about 30 minutes drive from the capital city, Lusaka.
This sounds like great developments for soccer. Thank you for bringing us these stories, Mike Sichula.
Thank you very much. Africa, good morning to our dear viewers. Have a blessed weekend, Glen-nora and the crew. Thank you very much.
We definitely will have a great weekend. Let's take a look at our weather predictions for Southern Africa before we return with economic news. Getting into our economic news, work on the construction of Namibia's third gold mine is set to commence soon following a capital commitment by Chinese miner Yintai Gold. This follows the acquisition of Osino Resources' Twin Hills project by Yintai to the tune of $5.5 billion in April, with the pending acquisition of Twin Hills by Yintai and Yintai's commitment to finance the development of the Twin Hills Gold project. Site construction is about to commence. Osino Resources CEO and President Heya Dawn said, and Osino was able to complete the definitive feasibility study in July 2023. Now, a comprehensive A comprehensive operational readiness plan for the project was developed in 2023, which included key sustainability aspects, while the implementation of this plan is ongoing. Let's now take a look at our financial indicators before we return with the sports.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master.
Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
Good day everyone, time for international sports news, and starting off with cricket news first. It is the Men's T20 Cricket World Cup continuing in the West Indies and in the United States. And the good news for the host, that is the West Indies, they flew to the Super 8 stage of the tournament. That was after they beat New Zealand in Trinidad. They beat them by 13 runs. It was the West Indies that scored 149 for the loss of 9 wickets in their allotted 20 overs. Shafane Rutherford was the best batsman with 68 runs. And then New Zealand replied with 136 for the loss of 9 wickets, with Alzari Joseph. He was the best bowler for the West Indies, 4 wickets for 19 runs in 4 overs. Not good news for New Zealand, the loss. That means that they're probably going to fall out of the tournament and not qualify for the Super 8. They need favours from other teams. If Afghanistan beat Papua New Guinea on Friday, then Afghanistan is through to the Super 8, and it will be New Zealand that drop out of the tournament. It will be then Afghanistan and the West Indies through in Group C. Continuing international sports news with golf news, it is the US Open for men that will take place this weekend, and it will start on Thursday, finish on Sunday. It will be played at Pinehurst, and it is world number 1 Scotty Scheffler that will be in the field. And also good news for the organisers is that 3-time US Open winner Tiger Woods also confirmed to play in the tournament. It will be a field of 156 players. 4 South African players will play in the tournament. For Southern African interest, it will be Dean Burmeister that qualified for the tournament. He's currently playing in the Live Golf Initiative. And then also Christian Besaidnout, Eric van Rooyen, and then also the 20-year-old Casey Jarvis that will play the US Open for the first time. And to conclude today's international sports news, it is soccer news, and it's soccer news from Manchester United. Manchester United indicated that the coach Erik ten Hag will stay on as the coach. There was a 2-week review that followed the last game of the season, and it was decided that Erik ten Hag will probably get another 2 years. He's considering a 2-year extension on his contract. Manchester United with not a good season in terms of the English Premier League. They finished 8th on the league, but they finished strongly with the FA Cup win when they beat Manchester City in the final, and with that win they also qualified for Europa League. The club looked to sell some of the current players and also looked to sign new players, and they recently added on management, and it was Gary O'Driscoll that was signed from Arsenal. He's the head of sport medicine now at Manchester United. That's international sports news for today. Hope you have a great sport day, and we talk international sport again tomorrow. Goodbye.
And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. Thank you for joining Africa Good Morning all week. From me, Glen-nora Tjipura. Until next time.